Have you any fresh injuries? And on Koulibaly, is he okay for both Brighton and Real Madrid?
No, he won't be available for either game. The hamstring injury, it'll be a matter of weeks rather than days.
Any other fresh injury concerns, and how much of a blow is that to lose a player at a time, this time of the season, this particular week?
Sure, he's a very good, very experienced player, and albeit people talk a lot about our squad, but when you work in some, we haven't got lots of cover in certain times, and obviously with the Champions League squad is different to the Premier League squad, but of course it's a disappointment for him and for us, but opportunity, and we carry on without him, and hopefully he gets fit as quick as he can.
At the other end of the pitch, the lack of goals, has that been a bigger problem than you sort of imagined coming into the role? Now you've had time to assess it, and what are you doing differently to try and get goals out of this team?
Well, no, it's not been a bigger problem. I think I understood it before I came in recent times, and trying to address it is our job, of course. And I hear a lot of talk about belief. I've said that word a lot myself in the last 2 press conferences, but the reality is it's work, and to replicate on the training pitch, and also to have enough urgency in our attacking game that we have numbers in and around the box and an idea of how we want to attack. So that's again part of the work.
What identity suits this group of players, and have you time to implement that before such a crucial week, such a big game coming up, second leg on Tuesday?
It's a really good question, because in a tight turnaround, the work on the training pitch is not it's not there. You can't work the players physically when you play 3 games in 6 days and things like that. So it's trying to put the message across about what we want to be and how we want to play. But at the moment, where games are coming thick and fast, it's every game, how can we make best of that? Now, there are general things that I see straight away that I kind of want to work on and improve. Maybe physical capacity to be aggressive in our game, things like that. I think we need to really step up, and that's very normal, I think, in a period maybe when you're not quite where you want to be in terms of results and performance. And the first thing to affect is absolutely performance, and you hope that results follow that. So it's important that the lads are very focused in this period. It's important that you, as a Chelsea Football Club player, you understand the expectations and strive for them, and I think that's where we're at, and I see in the squad a desire to do that. Of course, putting into practice is the thing.
What role can you play, given obviously you became accustomed to winning as a player at this football club, and there's been such turnover in players even behind the scenes? What role can you play in, I guess, educating any newcomers to the club over the last year or so, what it means to be a Chelsea player, what it means to win on that consistent basis?
We'll communicate that to them, and work towards it, and it won't be an overnight process. I just mentioned the lack of training time, and as much as you can have good meetings and an idea, there's nothing better than repeating movements that you want on the pitch, things like that. So those things are challenging, but in terms of being a Chelsea player and what the expectations that are there, it's easy said. It's a process of trying to get to that and to become a winning team and a winning team by nature. So I think there are lots of variables and understanding parts to that of some players that have came into the club, and are trying to maybe understand that. And of course, when you come in when results are not as good as we want, there are different challenges to it. So I'm pretty level-headed about it. I want to work as hard as I can to get every single improvement we can. It's an interesting job for me because it's different to what I've had before in terms of the short-term nature of it. But that is my job, to work with everything, and myself and the staff to get those improvements and to take us forward in this period.
Just a final one on Enzo Fernandez. Can you confirm that he's extended his contract again, and what's your take on those sort of more lengthy contracts for players?
I can't confirm that because I've got I don't know, actually. Sorry, I've actually got enough on my plate to dissect everyone's contracts at the club. The only thing I'll say is that from working with Enzo, he's been a standout character and player for me in this last week in terms of attitude and quality. So I think, even though he's only been here a short time, I think he's a fantastic player for this club going forward, and exactly the kind of profile type of player that we're talking about. Of course, he needs to be given time to settle as well, but The contract one I'm not aware of.
That's fine.
Thanks.
Alex Howe, BBC.
Hi Frank.
Hi.
Have you been through a period like this in your career when the team's not scoring, and what helped you and helped that team get back to firing and scoring regularly?
Yeah, I would have been through relative patches of that. Personal moments of not scoring in a run of games, being known as a goal scoring midfielder, and maybe the team having a difficulty in an area, whether it be without conceding set pieces, all these things. I've been here long enough to have all the extremes, and the positive and negative possibly at this club. So I understand that situation, and I'll come back to it. The only way to solve it is through hard work and focus. It sounds boring, it sounds the same, but I think if you one of my fortunate things is that I was fortunate enough to have a career at this club, mainly surrounded by a lot of good things and things that pushed me on. But the main thing that pushed me on was my own, desire and willpower and those things. So I think anything like that, if it's a collective or if it's an individual, it has to be the work process. And I'm a big believer in once you do that, then good things happen. It sounds really simple, but some things are simple.
Brighton have been praised for their stability, their recruitment and their project, and Chelsea has been scrutinised because of the changes and the amount of signings that have come in. And does it show that Chelsea needs to get the next appointment right if it's not you, and the importance of stability?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brighton is a fantastic model. I think you can track their last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it is, and see good progression from Championship to Premier League, to keeping Premier League status, to moving up, and that's their path. Chelsea's path is a different one. A club that's been hugely successful for a long period of time, and maybe a club where there are different transitions happening of ownership, of players who naturally have left, trying to bring in players with an eye for the future. You can look around and see models everywhere of Arsenal from 2 or 3 years ago and the work they do in the same direction, and everyone was probably judging them. I remember the headlines, negative headlines about club, owner, manager, and now it's a fantastic model. So I think we have to understand when you're in a process and a bit of a project that there'll be moments where you have to dig in and people will go, are you doing the right thing or not? So I don't think it's important for us to focus on too much opinion. We are where we are, that's a reality, but at the same time you work towards a standard, and we want to get there.
Alex Aljo, PLP.
Hi Frank.
Hi.
1 week into the job, as you said earlier, you have a lot on your plate right now. Is it maybe an even tougher task than you initially thought?
No, it's the task I thought it would be. I didn't know the detail, but I'm an avid watcher of Chelsea even when I'm before working here, so I had an understanding from the outside and as a football person, and then when you come in you try not to prejudge and you want to see what's in front of you when you get the job. But I was under no illusions that firstly we come in very quickly to a game after a day's training and then a quarter-final of the Champions League, and game and some really tough games to come in the Premier League, a tough running, but I like the challenge of that. So as I say, the challenges I expected and I'll hit them head on.
You faced Brighton in January as Everton manager. What have you made of the season they've had so far in the football they've been playing under De Zerbi?
Really good. I think it impresses everybody. It's a very certain style and identity, to go back to that point. And of course, an identity I think they've worked towards with Graham working there before in a positive direction, and then of course the manager taking it on and adding his touches, and with stability, which we mentioned. And I think we've seen that on the pitch. They're a really good team, offensively and defensively, and I certainly understand, and I think everyone should understand, that this is a really tough game for us, falling in between 2 Madrid games. It's a very, very tough match, and we will need to be somewhat towards our best, and we will have to physically compete with Brighton with the way they play, and that's something I'm really focused on.
Just how vital is a win tomorrow, not just for the league position, but to go into Tuesday night feeling confident, on a high?
Yeah, it's vital. I guess they all are, but I understand your point. When we're not getting the results we want, you work towards the idea of turning a corner to make progress, because of course things can affect confidence and that. But you know, it doesn't take away from the difficulty of the game. So as vital as they all are, we'll try our best to get the right result because we know what that might help bring, which again is an uplift in confidence and feeling when Real Madrid comes so quickly afterwards.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Bradley, Talk Sport.
Hi Frank.
Hi.
Hope you're well. First things first, what's going to be going through your head and what's the emotion going to be being back at Stamford Bridge and being on the touchline this weekend?
Well, I'm delighted to be back, and that never falls short on me, the honour of being manager, head coach in whatever capacity. I've done it before for a season and a half. I love pretty much every minute, and I'm happy to be back. But my overriding feeling is, I've performed at Stamford Bridge in one way or the other for a long time over the years. So my overriding feeling absolutely is a focus on the job and trying to get wins. So I'd appreciate being back, but I'll have my serious face on.
And we obviously goal scoring issues have been well documented, and we saw Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang come on against Wolves last weekend. What sort of role is he going to have to play towards the end of the season, and can he be the number 9 that perhaps Chelsea need him to be towards the end of the season?
Well, we'll see. We'll see on that one. I don't want to go position specific. What I do want to say is that the players have to feel that when they train and when they turn up for training and how they prepare and the competitive nature of that within the squad to get a place in the team, it needs to be high in every position. So, Oba's a bit like everybody in the squad now, whether you've been starting before or not starting so much. Everyone now, you have to compete in training and show that you're worthy of the place. And of course, his history says he has a fantastic goal scoring record. So we'll see.
And last one from me, a lot has been said about the ownership's ambitions for this club. I mean, during your initial conversations with Todd Bowley and the ownership here, what have you made of what they've said and how they see the vision for this club going forward?
Well, I've been impressed because I think it's... I'm not sure if ambitious is the right word, but they are ambitious, of course. But I think that it's to be obviously honed in the right direction, and they have a clear vision, and people working within the club have a clear vision of where we want to get to. And I'm very impressed with the really strong intentions and involvement. I think collaboration and talking and working forward to try and get to somewhere is really important in the modern day. I think things have to be and should be aligned from top to bottom, and that comes with communication, and there's certainly a lot of that. So I've been very impressed with that, and I think there has to also be an understanding that this is a long-term project, an idea, and that's when you put it in a big scheme of things, I think that has to be understood. And as I said before, there may be difficult steps in that process. And that's the important thing then, is that us and people at the club work really hard to keep going in the right direction. And of course, I get that feeling from the top of the club.
That's great. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, last two in the broadcast section today. Rantman, BBC World, and then Scott to finish.
Frank, can I just ask you about N'Golo Kante? How much of a difference does it make to have him tactically and then just as a member of the team? And do you think he should be given a new contract because his contract runs out in the summer?
I'll stay away from that part. That's for the club and N'Golo to talk about. But having worked with N'Golo before, is an incredible player, one of the best I've been fortunate enough to work with. And I know the positives of having him and the negatives of not, because in my first season here, we missed him for some big periods, and when we had him, you feel the impact of him. As an individual player, his impact is very clear. And trying to, off the back of a 4-month injury, we have to manage him at the same time, because when you have N'Golo fit, he's clearly one of the best midfield players in the world. And I think you see in these performances in Madrid, Liverpool last week, having just come back from injury, that he's not slowing down in that term. When he plays, he always offers massive output and massive quality. So I'm very pleased to be working with him again.
Okay, last question, Scott.
Obviously, you've had a week at the club now, and as you've kind of acknowledged, there's not been a great deal of time to work with the players. Does that then put pressure on, again, against the likes of Brighton, for you to be able to see more of them, maybe give somebody like Badiashile or Carney Chukwuemeka a chance on the pitch, because there's just been no other time?
Yes, but they can't all play. The maths don't work as such. So I think over the period I'm here, firstly I want to win football matches because we are Chelsea, and that's obviously going to be what is expected of us from, well, firstly from ourselves, but also fans and, you know, outside alike. So, and then secondly, I want to be part of a process in this period where players have an opportunity. If they train, if they deserve to play, they get an opportunity on the pitch and they show what they can do. So yeah, tomorrow will be an opportunity for some players that didn't play in the Champions League, possibly didn't play at the weekend, to come in, because it's a game where we absolutely need freshness and energy as well. So every opportunity they should take.
Okay.